Welcome to the Word for 2022. Today we're in 2 Kings chapter 23. God's Word had been lost, but now it had been found. King Josiah, he responded correctly when he heard God's Word for the first time. He humbled himself, he believed what was written, and then he was changed by it. Following that, the king read God's Word so that all the people might hear it. He committed himself and the nation to following and obeying God's Word. Then Josiah started cleaning house. Josiah got rid of everything that didn't belong in the nation and among the people of God. Then the Passover was celebrated as it hadn't been since the days of the judges. Josiah was a revival king. We read in verse 25, "Neither before nor after Josiah was there a king like him, who turned to the Lord as he did, with all of his heart and with all of his strength, in accordance with the law of Moses." As you read this chapter, you might get the impression that there is no end to the idolatry, the compromise, the sinful influences, and the wrong that is throughout the nation. It seems as though everywhere you turn, Josiah has something to clean up. With such an overwhelming task of things that need to be cleaned up, where do you start? Have you ever faced a task that seemed too big to tackle, too overwhelming, too ambitious? I once heard the question, how do you eat an elephant? The answer, one bite at a time. In the same way, King Josiah, he had to confront generations of idol worship. He had to clean up pagan practices throughout the nation. He had to confront wrong that was in their religion, in their government, and in the home. It was a massive task. No one knew how long it would take or how deep he would have to go. So what did Josiah do? He started by doing the first right thing. The first thing was that he needed to get right. The second thing that he did was to gather the people together and to read to them what was right. After that, he looked around, and the first wrong that he saw, he worked to make it right. After that, he looked for the next wrong thing, and then he made it right. Based on his commitment to obey God's Word, Josiah continued to just simply do the next right thing. Whenever we're faced with a seemingly overwhelming task, this is what we need to do. First, don't panic, but pray for God's strength and for His guidance. Then, do the right thing. Take the first step. With each step or small right decision that we make, we get closer to our goal of completing the task. And then, with a series of small right steps, the impossible becomes possible, the overwhelming becomes doable, and wrong becomes right. Josiah's series of right decisions changed the entire nation. Just like Josiah, we need to do what he did, listen to God, and do what he said, one day at a time. Thank you for joining the Word for 2022.